but I've been a little friendly with him since I was 19. And I went down to interview him at the Carlisle, and he said, I waited after the show. I said, I have a comedy magazine. I'd love to interview. He said, I wouldn't enjoy that. I said, okay, I don't want to make him do something he won't enjoy. He's Woody Allen. He's like a hero. So then, John Dominion?
Yeah, I know, no. I know they were good friends who Woody wound up suing.
No, that's Gene.
Gene, the wife.
John Dominion, he's...
were they married?
They were married. They're divorced. But,
right, and she did Saturday Night Live, and it's Hell Days, right?
Yes.
Right, okay.
So John Dominion is her ex-husband who was managing sort of Woody's jazz band, and they're good friends. He was in Annie Hall in that scene with the cocaine, with the sneezing and the mustache.
With Paul Simon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So John Dominion says, he says, hey, listen, you're a big fan of Woody. I said, yeah. He said, I'm sorry that, he doesn't like to do these interviews, but if you want to come and see your Uncle Woody do jazz sometime, you can come here as his guest. I said, oh, I'd love to. He says, well, when do you want to come? I said, how about next week? He said, see you there.
Wow.
So I come down to the Carlisle the next week, and I sat with John, and after a few minutes, he goes, I can't listen to this stuff anymore. He goes, I've heard him do this a million times. I don't even like jazz. You want to go in the other room? So I said, sure. So I go in the other room with John and this guy, Dr. Ron Brady, who's like a longtime friend of Woody's, I guess since childhood. And John says, let me buy you a drink. So he gets us some whiskeys, and we sit there, and he gets some nuts and stuff at the table. We're joking around. He goes, I like you. He says, you fit in good here. Come around next week if you're around.
Really?
I said, okay. So I used to go put my name on the list to do late night at the comic strip because I was only passed for late night. And then walk over from the comic strip to the Carlisle Monday night. Hang out with John Dominion, and sometimes Woody would come over for a little bit to the table, and I get to talk to him a little bit, and then I'd go back and do my set at the comic strip, and I did it for years, and then just over time, so I was working for Jackie Mason selling his merch on Broadway, and Woody's huge fan of Jackie Mason.
He is?
Huge fan of Jackie, so he would always, so he knew I was working for Jackie, so he'd always tell Jackie, I think he's a genius. I think he's one of the great comedians of all time. And, anytime he wants to come down here with you, he's always welcome. And I go to Jackie and I'd say, Woody thinks the world of, oh yeah, how come he never put me in one of his pictures? I said, I don't know, but he invited you to come down. He says, tell him he's a pedophile and a pervert. Deliver that message. I said, okay, thanks a lot. So he said, Woody said, did you tell Jackie? I said, he said he loves you too. He can't come down.
Jackie Mason was kind of a prick. I don't want to sit and talk about all these pricks, but, I ran into once on the street of New York, and I was walking down the street, ran into him, and I said, I don't know if you remember me, Bobby Slayton, you saw me one night at Catch a Rising Star. I don't think he did. He called me into his limo, told me how great he was. It was years before. He didn't remember, which, okay, not that memorable. It's fine. But I said, having dinner with David Brenner tonight. Should I tell him you said hello? And, why should I say hello? I never met David Brenner. Why would you say hello for me? Why? I don't know him. I'm not saying I don't like him, but I don't know. Why do you? But he was. I thought he was like kidding, but I don't think he was kidding.
But he was kidding. That's what he. This is like I was telling. I told a story. We just did Mike Binder's podcast together, and I told this story, and it bombed about how I wanted to be at one point. I wanted to be Don Rickles, and I tried it, and everybody hated me. But Jackie told me that too one time. He goes, I like the fact he insult people. He says, I like the fact that you left. People don't get, for some reason, when Don Rickles does it, everybody thinks he's a genius. And when I do it, half the people walk away and say Jackie Mason's a jerk and this and that. He goes, I'm making jokes the same way he's making jokes. I like to insult people because it's funny. He goes, and people don't take it from me. From me, they think, oh, he's a horrible person. From Don Rickles, they're kissing his hand and kneeling down in front of him. He says, I was doing it before Don was doing it. So anyway.
One night, these three guys went back to see Jackie after his Broadway show.
Yeah.
I don't give any names. And one of the guys was in the newspaper for cheating on his wife. It was very big news. So they go back to see Jackie, tell him how good he was. And Jackie, in front of everybody, goes, who the hell are you to cheat on your wife? I know what your wife looks like. She's a beautiful woman, and you're going and stooping somebody else. Who the hell do you think? And his face turned like so friggin' red.
Jackie was kidding around, right?
No, he was just.
He liked to make people uncomfortable. But if he would have laughed, then Jackie would have laughed. And Jackie, see, he would go after people, and if you laughed, then you get it, and then he warms up to you. That was it.
Right.
That's like I told my friend Matty Goldberg when he came on the show, and I brought him to meet Jackie, and Jackie roasted him a little bit. He got offended and started screaming back, and then he left. But it's just the thing. Jackie wanted to be accepted as an insult comic.
Yeah.
And
what was you showing me?
Well, I'm not looking at my emails. We do this part of the show now, which I told you about. We're going to throw out a couple of topics.
How long is this going to take?
Not long.
All right, let's do it fast. I got to get out of here.
I'm going to wrap up. Can I wrap up the story I started before? I'll wrap it up. So Woody's got a sister. To go back to the story, Woody's got a sister that works with him. You know her?
I met her. Yeah, she was on the set. She was working on in Spain on the movie.
She produced the movie, too.
Yeah. She's been working with him forever.
Yeah.
Well,
So she wanted to go see Jackie on Broadway. So Woody said to me, he says, you work with Jackie. Could you get tickets for my sister? And I think she has a husband and her husband. So I go to Jackie. I said, can I get tickets? They don't want to pay for the tickets. Woody Allen doesn't have enough money to pay to see me on Broadway. I said, come on, help me out. He says, all right, I'll do it for you. So I got tickets for his sister and I think her husband to go and see Jackie on Broadway. So Woody said, he really appreciated that. And would I like a line in Match Point? And I said to John, is he going to fly me to London? He goes, no, I don't think so. I think you're going to have to pay for that. I said, no, I'm not going to do it.